So it's like,
Yeah,
I used to be a woman, and then I got now actually in Woodturning. So it's like, I used to be a woman, and then I got now actually in Woodturning. But so it was quite good just to sort of pad that a little bit out at the start, and there was a few faces like going as if used to be a woman. Right. No, so it was good, and then got a lot of good feedback, and I was conscious of time, like I said, and you're looking over your shoulder all the time, and literally I'd done the hook first, then I was doing the stand, polishing up the stand, looking over my shoulder at the clock, thinking, come on. And then I'd pass the hook around, and I was going, I need that to come back at the end because to sort of put it in the stand, and it came back. And then I was just on the polish, and then I took it off, piled it off, took the thing off the end, put it on the stand, and I said, there you go, there's a stand and the hook, potched it in like that to turn over, and it's like 1 minute to go. It's like, sweet, really? Absolute fluke.
So you didn't do what I did on my first demo and finish half an hour early and then go off.
No, exactly. It was always sort of managing that and thinking about it. But so all in all, went very well, thank you, and good feedback.
You do it again?
Sign me up for the next one, and Bill and Ricky have been in touch and want me to do one there at their gaff as well. So,
really?
Chelmer Valley will be in touch and get you to do one at theirs as well.
And that's free though, isn't it? I don't do it for free.
Oh well, you could perhaps sweet talk the accounts department.
Well, that ain't going to work, I don't think. 'Cause that's your mum.
Well, we'll come and we'll have a conversation. We'll see what we can do.
But
because it's Barry's thing about not paying club demonstrators. But
I get where they're coming from, and I just think that going through it, when you've got these people who have been doing it years and years and years, right, and for them it's nothing. They can probably think about what they're doing 2 days beforehand, right, and then you hear some of them the way they talk, like that's what they do, and they just sort of knock it out, and they've got the confidence to think, I haven't got to worry about planning my time out. Where am I going to be at this point? Am I going to finish this? Am I going to finish early? And some people will just have a few extra bits on the side, and if I finish early, I'll just whack one of those out as well. And it's like someone like me, I haven't got the luxury of having that. So a lot of planning needs to go in it.
Exactly.
So
did you practice a lot?
Well, he's done 300.
I've practiced 300 times on the hook. But on the stand, there's like, obviously anyone got to do that, but prep work in relation to setting up the blank with the resin inserts and doing that 3 weeks beforehand and making sure that's all ready to go and gone off and all that sort of stuff as well. It's not just go and grab some stuff off the shelf that's already there.
So again, they look quite pretty. That would explain that. Nice.
So where I'll get these, so these are generally, when you buy these blanks, they're like in 150, and then my hooks are 100 mil. So I always have these offcuts. Sometimes you get them a bit longer. And then what I'll do is I then cut that up into tiny little chunks, like the bit that's left.
Yeah.
And then the beauty, and the thing is, I said to some of the guys, I said, when you look at this is a stand for a crochet hook, but it could be a stand for a pen, right? It's just got an hole in the end. You could use the premise for a bud vase, because what the good thing I think is, if people want to have a practice with resin, is that rather than faffing around with hot glue and acetate, I just draw a 40 mil hole in the top of a bit of wood, right? And then you use that as your surround. And then I'm just chucking the little chunks in and then mixing up. And I just happen to have a base sort of colour of mica powder that matches it, so it looks like it's pink as well. And then pour that in. So then that's creating your little well, if you like, the actual wood. And you haven't got to faff around and worry about leakages and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's very nice.
And you've got to turn in a sort of combination of wood and resin. So
do you embellish it?
No, that's laburnum. So laburnum literally speaks for itself. So it was quite it's one of the things for me is like, what would you do next? And again, I just think I'd have to give it some decent thought to work out what you're going to do, and then think about the timings and stuff like that. So
it's not much, an hour and a half, really.
2 hours.
Thames side is worse. Thames side is 2.5. Now, I completely understand where you're coming from, because I'm exactly the same. I've done one demo, which was a spur of the moment at Chelmer Valley. And what did I do? I can't even remember what I did for that one. But you're planning for those of us that haven't done them for very long. You watch people like Darren Brace, who's been doing it for years, and you're absolutely right. It's the way he talks. Whereas I still get stage fright standing in front of you all.
I can imagine.
I felt for Steve on Wednesday.
Oh, mate, that was...
Oh, what did he do?
It was painful.
A demo.
He was very good. It was a first-time demo, but he was doing gilding. but he didn't have much time to prep. So the block he had wasn't round. It was what do you reckon it was?
Square.
7-inch, 8-inch square?
It was unreal. He was literally watching a cage fight, him against a bit of wood. And
once he got it round,
he was bouncing his chisels. I can't remember who I was sitting next to, but I said, when he finally got it round, I felt like standing up cheering and go, "That's a great demo. Well done, Steve. That's amazing." And walk out at that point. I said that to him at the end as well. It was like, "You've done amazing just to get that bit of wood round." Like, oh my God. And he was going at it one way, and then it was like his chisel was bouncing and all that. And then he was literally going, "Oh," like that. And then not, okay, this is what I can do. I just try from the other side. And then it's like go back the other way. But fair play to him. I thought he done really well. So
the end result, I really enjoyed the actual gilding that he did.
He was interesting, without a doubt.
He did gold leaf and silver, dyed or coloured silver leaf. It was blue. But also something that a pair of you already know about, that I imagine both of you would have sat there and gone, "We already know this," but he had some of Tiny Turner's glittery bits which he glued on, but
ethereal flakes or whatever it is.
But it was really the gilding that I tried with a bit of camera work, but Louise is definitely better at that than me. But
it was so fiddly, and a patience he had to do it, and I couldn't be bothered with it, to be honest. Well, I can't be asked. Literally, Will, he had these little books, square books of like 10 or so sheets, right? And it's like, you can't even pick up your fingers, right? Because it's so fiddly, and it's got this thing, I can't remember what it's called. It was like this sort of velvet cushion that you'd have. Like
that's right. Gilders.
But on the back, it's got this sort of bit of card or something at the back to stop any breeze coming in, because it'll just literally go. And then he's trying to cut it with this knife into, like, I don't know what, inch squares.
Yeah, that would
and then apply it, and then he's got to get oil off his head. Right, he's literally, because you can't pick it up. You're literally off your bonds, right? There's enough oil there for it to stick, and then you try and put it on. Then I'm thinking, oh my God, no, I couldn't be bothered.
It was a lot of faff, but the end result was actually quite effective. It was effective, and if you've got the patient, it's like who've got the patient to do basket weave. I don't have the patience for basket weave either.
A random comparison, basket weaving.
Have you done? No, not weaving baskets. Basket weave is an effect on turning.
Oh, that, I know what you mean. Sorry, Garry.
Exactly.
King of the weave.
King of the basket. And
some things, it does make me, even resin to a certain point, there's prep involved. You've got to think, plan it ahead and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. When you go back to when I first got into wood turning, the bit that I really liked about it was the fact that you could then just start with a bit of a log, right, which has literally got the bark in it and whatever, and in 2 hours, albeit it might be small, but you've literally got a polished, finished bowl, because you're not faffing around with any other stuff around it. You're sat in that bit of wood, and you can go from that to that in that 2 hours. All of these other sort of techniques that need other stuff around it, be it waiting for lacquer to dry or whatever, it just elongates the process, doesn't it, to sort of get to an end result. And sometimes I do sort of think that takes away the beauty of what I saw in wood turning, because it was so instant, if you like.
That's why I quite enjoy doing the flowers.
Anything that's all in one piece, all in one go. I think there's different things. Different people like different things, don't they? But there you go.
You said the same thing to Doris the other day. I like to cut back a bit on the filming, because I'm forever polishing and lacquering, and I'm actually turning.
Especially when each bit of sanding you take 7 minutes per
grit,
per grit, and everything else.
So you could practice, right? You could end up with your scenario grid that says, right, this is what I currently do, right? And then I'm going to cut that back and go, well, I'm doing 7 per 5 grades or whatever. I'm going to cut that back to 4 minutes per grade. And then at the end, actually do a compare. There's got to be a sweet spot, right? That you might get 6 minutes, you might get away with it. 5 minutes, you might. 4.
I actually think it's about 10 minutes is the sweet spot.
You already cut it back.
I normally sand it turning for 7 minutes, and then I go over it by hand.
No way, mate. Oh my God.
They did. No, my latest ones did not go through that. I just can't. I'm with Garry with that. It's just too much.
You may as well start gilding, mate. It'll feel really quick to you.
Because all you do is
not really the sand. I don't mind the sanding. In fact, I've grown to like it. It's the waiting for lacquer to go off killing me.
A couple of months back, I showed you a drill. Someone had set up a battery or power drill on a slow spin, which he's adapted to take a chuck. So it just ticks over nice and slow off to one side. Could you not set something like that up?
If I can find space to put it.
Doris's workbench.
Probably the only space.
The problem with it is if you were to do something like that, it would have to be far enough away from the next thing you turn. Because otherwise you'll just get dust all in that next project.
What I really need is another lathe, a little baby lathe, just with an M33 chuck that actually doesn't need to go any quicker than 40, 50 RPM.
The problem is the little cheap lathes start at 4 to 500.
Exactly.
They don't go slow.
Exactly.
That's what I'm finding with this, the backup lathe where the record power is out of action still.
What's the latest on that? Have they given you a date yet for that?
Oh, so I've got the motor back.
Oh, right.
No fault found.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Controller.
So it's the control board. So I'm just waiting for a mate of mine to get some time. He repairs aircraft electrics for a living. So I'm waiting for him to just grab some time, and he's going to have a look for me and see which bit's gone wrong and repair it. So
they didn't charge you for the... Or did they charge you for
No, they didn't charge me for an inspection or anything. No, they were very good.
Yeah.
I can't fault them at all, actually. When I dropped it in, they said, "Oh, are you in a rush for it?" I said, "Nah, not really." But no, this other replacement lathe is, shall we say, unrefined. It works as a lathe. It does what I need it to do. It just doesn't do it quite as nicely as the record power does. But I suppose that's the difference between a 300 quid lathe and a 900 quid lathe.
Exactly. Yeah.
But hopefully get that back soon. So
there does.
So what have you been working on, Will? Oh, sorry, Gary.
No, go on.
What you been working on, Will?
So I think on the last one I mentioned that I've done a bowl out of oak burl. It's all right.
No resin?
It's got a resin top on it. It's all right. It's not what I envisaged. I was making a candle holder, if you remember. Do you remember I showed you that and said, I'm going to remake that out of Malibu? Right. Well, I did, and then the project took a few twists, and this is what I ended up with.
For those of you who can't see it, it's probably about, 18 inches long.
It's got to be about 18 inches.
And about 4 inches in diameter. Marley burl and resin candle.
Yeah, it's absolutely
huge.
After I did it and after I got it to round, I couldn't, because the wood's so pretty, I couldn't bear to put any shape in it. So I left it completely plain.
I know what you mean.
I don't know what I think about it.
I like the fact, because if you, like you say, if you'd have shaped it, you potentially would have lost a lot of the wood.
I would have lost quite a lot of the wood, especially this end is quite thin. The ends are quite thin, and that's what I thought. So I was like, what do I do?
I think you need to make 2 more.
Well, I did wonder where, and that's the other thing I thought of. I thought, that's bloody massive, right? Sorry?
Is it hollow all the way?
No.
It's solid. Okay, so that's where the candle's sitting in there.
That is never falling over.
Wow, I'll tell you what, have you been down to church, tried to sell it on the altar, mate? And it'll double up as a weapon in case someone breaks in and clubs someone around the head with that. Good night.
It's quite heavy, that's for certain. It still needs polishing, but it's got the lacquer on it now, anyway. That's kind of what I've been in. That's what I ended up with. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, I'm just going to be like, because I have filmed it, obviously, I'm thinking I'm just going to be criticised because it's got absolutely no shape. But I really like it because it's got no shape and it's got just the shape of the Malibu burner.
It's going to be a very short video. There's very little turn in there.
Well, actually, I think you'd be surprised. I have started editing. I'm only 2 minutes in, and I'm not even on the lathe yet.
Blimey.
It's probably the prep, I guess. It's taken quite a long time.
What colour was the resin? I couldn't really see.
Oh shit! It's heavy.
So it's like dark blue.
No, it's like a purpley colour. You can't really see it very well on here, but it's pearl purple. It is actually really quite pretty. I'll bring it in somewhere because it's for me anyway, and that's kind of why. I'm just going to leave it straight because it's for me anyway. I thought I'll stick it online and see if there's any inquiries for it, and we'll go as far as that.
Because even though it's for you, you put it on as an inquiry. Money, right?
I'll still put it up with the price.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's got a price. This has got a price tag.
Maybe an extra 0 more than you would do normally.
Yeah.
On the subject of pricing, a conversation came up on one of the WhatsApp groups I'm part of. It comes up quite regularly about how people price their things, regardless of what they make. How do people price it? And I occasionally weighed in on it. I've got a formula I use. It's how much I think I'm worth an hour plus material cost plus 1.5 or whatever. But I'm interested to hear from you guys how you get to your prices and how you, because we all do very unique pieces that no one else really does. And when I price something, I look at what the direct competitors are doing. So I will look at Garry's prices, for example, on his crochet hooks. And I think, well, where are mine sitting? Are they sort of a reasonable price? Garry's are selling at X amount. Maybe mine will do the same. But I'm just interested to hear where you get your pricing from.
So I look at other people, that's for certain. I won't name any names because that'd be unfair. But I do look at what other people have got. And I generally go a bit cheaper. And I do that, what's the words? Not to undercut them per se, but to keep up with market, if you like. And if I worked out what I earn an hour of one of those resin things, it's probably not even a $5 an hour. So it's not really worth the money, if you see what I mean. I'm never going to make any money out of selling the bits I make. All the money's off social media.
So you do factor your social media, your YouTube into the price? Would you put yours up a bit more if you weren't getting any of the revenue from social media?
Definitely.
I think where you try and sort of get a benchmark elsewhere, I think the key thing or the difficult thing is where those, even though you might do something that is a similar thing to something someone's done, if that person's got good exposure, they can charge a premium, right? And if a lot of their stuff is sort of in a similar price bracket, it's almost like saying it's a similar thing. If I go in a shop, right, in Basildon, and I see an item in a shop there, and I go and I wouldn't know, and I went in Chelsea and saw the same item, right? It was handmade. It could be the same item, and they could be hundreds of pounds difference in the price. It's because of where it is and the clientele you're getting visiting that location, right? Be it a craft fair, be it a high-end shop, be it a Etsy shop, be it on eBay. Do you know what I mean? It's so difficult. And in a way, you feel one of the key things is, for all of us, is around if you really sat down, Will says, and worked out how many hours you've spent. And sometimes you might think, well, I've got a, 150mm diameter little bowl here, right? And I'm charging 30 quid. And someone's going to go, 30 quid? And if I told you how many hours I spent polishing it and making it look nice and all that with resin and all the prep work that I put into it and it's bugger all. And so sometimes you get to the point where you might have so much, I won't call it took, but so many items, right, clogging up your place that you think, I'm just going to try and get rid of them just so that you can clear the decks a little bit. So you're going to drop the prices down.
So if I look at that, then that's cost me 65 quid for the wood. It's got 2.5 litres of resin in there. What's that? It's going to be, 20 quid, 25 quid?
You are so out of touch with resin prices, but yeah.
Really? I can't be. You can get 7 litres of resin for 100 quid. Oh, no, it's about 25, 30 quid for resin. It's got a can of lacquer on there.
You're talking easy 60, 70 quid in parts, right?
So there's 100 quid's worth of just material there before we even touched it. That's not including making the mould.
Sanding stuff, electric to run all your stuff. All that stuff, they say you to work it every little bit. It's just ridiculous. And then the hours of effort you put in.
I think it's quite plain that, but I must have been going like that for easily 20 hours, that's for certain.
There's a perceived value, isn't there, of what we make. The customer has this idea in their heads that they'll go to a craft fair and they'll pick up a plain wooden bowl and it will be, it's probably only a tenner. And I've got 35 quid written on it. And they'll go, oh no, I'm not paying that for that. It's just a plain wooden bowl. So there's that perceived value, isn't there? I think that's what Garry was just saying, that
I think you have the people that do appreciate as well. You just got to get to the right people. People would know a bit of oak from a bit of malleable. They're the kind of people that you want to attract.
The people who would know that might be in a position that they could try making it themselves because they know, they know the effort and all that goes into it. And that's why I think even a little 150ml bowl, but for me, if it's one of the ones where I might do similar stuff to Will, where you've topped it with resin, right, where you've took away the sort of like the bark a little bit and then resined it and it's got some glitter in it and all that, 150ml bowl with that, the 35 quid against just a wooden bowl, 35 quid. I just feel like you've got a better chance of someone thinking, oh, I can see why that's 35 quid. Even though I still really think that even a plain wooden bowl should still fetch a decent price because it's still there's still work involved to do it, and it's still a skill to produce it, and how nice it is, and all that. And then you say the buying the wood or whatever, and that's the other thing. You forget that all the time around. You end up with so much wood in your wood store, and when you go and pluck something out and you start doing it, you almost write that off. I bought that for like 12 quid 2 years ago, but you write that 12 quid off straight away because you're just getting it out your cupboard.
It's been sitting there in the law store for too long. I try and process a lot myself. So you list it out for chainsaws and everything just to try and keep my prices down. But I went up to NB Timbers and he's not expensive. I don't think he's expensive. But I've bought, what did I buy? I bought enough because I've got demos coming up. So I bought some big lumps of chestnut to do some tri-wing dishes and things with. And that was 20 quid. I'm going to get 3 dishes out of it. So there's a cost there, and this is what I was saying to you a minute earlier, Gary, about your demos. And no, even those of us who are in clubs shouldn't be doing our demos necessarily for free because we've got an parts outlay. But no, it's interesting to see what other people think. And when I see these conversations come up, oh, how much do you charge and where do you get your pricing from? We all sort of do the same thing. We have a look at what the competition's doing and value our own time. But we all undercharge, don't we? Because the customers have that perceived value. So
if you were to set yourself an hourly wage, a reasonable hourly wage, then you'd never sell anything.
No, I don't think you could even do it if you genuinely use the minimum wage, right, from an hourly rate. No. I don't reckon you'd even sell it then. Someone might turn around and go, it's taking you 4 hours to make that bowl, mate. You want to sort out your wood turning because your dog dirt. It's like...
So 20 hours for that candlestick.
Exactly. You want to stop at 180 grit, mate, and then you just saved yourself 15 hours. But
exactly.
But then it obviously won't look as good. So it's a good topic of conversation, and everyone's got a different view on it. But it's still underlying that as a wood turner, you just feel that no wood turner gets a decent price for the efforts they put in.
I think that extends to any craft.
Maybe handmade,
anything that's handmade. I mean, Mum makes handmade lace, but she couldn't charge what she should charge for it. And you've got the crocheters and the glass makers, the guys that do the stained glass ornaments and things, potters.
That's that, and all that comes as a result of online shopping and how easy it is for people. They go on Amazon and get, I don't know, any sort of bamboo wooden bowl or anything, and they think, oh, I've only paid £8 for that.
Well, I was at Melton Mulberry not weekend, just gone weekend before, and I have my handmade yarn bowls, and you've seen them. And there was another lady there who was selling wool, and she had a couple of yarn bowls that she'd bought off of Temu. They'd cost her £5 off of Temu, and she was flogging them for 15 quid. And they were the same size as mine, and mine are sitting at 55 quid.
Exactly.
Well, I didn't sell any of mine. But
the thing is, that's not even a customer can go buy one for £5. That cheeky mare's buying them and then knocking them out.
Yeah, she's done no work for that.
Yeah, exactly. You could do that.
Maybe I should. I might make more money out of doing that. But that's not satisfying. I enjoy the process.
Well, imagine if you we sold 10 of them. You've made a tenner a pop. Do you know what I mean? It's still, I know you wouldn't want to do it because you've got all of your other stuff laid out. People are naturally going to think, oh, you made them, right? And then they might look at them and think, oh, it's got the same sort of standards.
I forgot to take the made in China off the bottom.
They've got a job maker's mark in it.
They've got a job maker's mark China. Yeah.
Yourself a brand to go over the top.
We'd like to do some more plain stuff. That's for certain plain stuff, just normal wood. It's just getting hold of the wood because Nobody's going to watch turning a bit of dried bought stock from.
Oh, I can attest to that. I released a video last week, was it? I don't know if you guys have seen it. I released another flower. This time it was made in green gauge. So the last time I released one, it was sycamore just before Christmas. And that's done 2,500 views. My one I released last week has done 200 views.
Oh, really?
It's tanked. It's not done well at all. The people enjoy watching the resin stuff. There's that ASMR.
Not on mine, I don't.
Side of it.
Gits.
Mine's quieting down a bit, I must admit.
I'd done a cheeky Instagram collab. When you do the podcast, Mike, you do the invite for the collaboration, right?
Yeah.
So I done one with. I got a guy on Instagram, Chops Designs, and he does these chopping board silicone molds, but they're really good from the point of view of not only do you get the mold, but you actually get the template as well. And then you obviously put that on your bit of wood, round that, use that as the template to then make sure you're going to get the bit of wood that's going to fit in the mold. And then it's obviously up to you where you've made the gap to pour resin, how much resin you pour in and all that. But he does so many designs that are unbelievable, right? And he's the one who he does one and it's like a square like that and it goes up and it's got a whale tail as the handle. And someone had done the transparent blue going across. I believe the little divers in there, scuba divers, and it went ballistic. His Instagram went ballistic, and I spoke to him, and he chucked me in a couple of the divers. He laser prints them or whatever, and I didn't use the divers in that, but I just got a heart one, and I've done it all. So I just done a collaboration with him and invited him to do it. So he plugged it on his site as well, and that done pretty well, really. He's only got 4,500, 5,000 followers, I think, but it's shot up massively since he had that scuba diving one.
Yeah, it's good.
I saw that little one you did, and I actually really enjoyed that. That's different from your normal stuff, but it was a good little video. It was
it felt like a bit different because I was putting it through the planer, so it's you got the camera there and you're filming it, and you go, oh, I need to film that in, so then I can stick it together, it going in there and coming out there, and then moving it from here to there. And
you weren't brave enough to put the camera in the thicknesser then.
Well, not really. No,
I saw someone do it. I saw someone do that the other day. I saw it, and there's this little camera in the thicknesser, and I'm like, no, my camera would get shredded. It's just my luck. Something would happen, and that camera would explode.
There's no room in there for that. It was quite good.
I quite like the red resin in that. Worked well.
Come out all right. It was a lovely bit of I'd like a plank of tulip wood, and on one side it had all the yellows and browns in it, and it was a really nice bit of wood actually. And that was, needless to say, that was the one for the missus, so that ain't going nowhere.
Nice.
I can't even get it to put a price on it somewhere.
It's already been hidden from the site.
It'll give it a bit of time, and if you get bored about it, forget about it, and then you can sneak it out.
So, Mark, last time we was on the podcast, you were talking about chuck inserts. You got any further?
I have, actually. So I've finished and had people test the tri-wing version of it. The initial feedback was that the tail end was too big. So I shrunk that down a lot, made it a lot smaller. And you can't really see it on the camera, but it's indented on one side so it fits straight over a tailstock. And then you've got the tri-wing fitting at the top. Garry has one of them. He picked one up at Charmer Valley the other week. And I've got 5 different chuck fittings.
So I did just try it on the chuck. And the one for the headstock's fine. It actually fits in mine, because it's bigger than it says, but anyway, that's fine. But it works, that's fine. But the tailstock piece, so you said it's sort of got that conical sort of bit to slot up over the live center. But the live centers, I've got a ring center, so it's not direct to a point. And then I've got a couple of just like normal pointed live centers. And both of those, when you're looking at them like that, the actual angle of them coming off is 60 degrees, right? Whereas the big bit that slots over the end, I don't know if it's at 45, but it's nowhere near that angle. So it's got no stability at all, because it's not very deep either, is it?
It's hole. Not. It was. I had to make it the size it was because people were complaining it was too big. I had that similar feedback from someone else as well. And what I've said to them is the original one, you had to make a piece that went over your tailstock and it's sort of slotted in. So it was a bigger bit like this, and you'd have to turn something for that to sit in that then fitted over your tailstock. And what they've said is to do exactly the same with this. So turn something that fits better over your tailstock.
And you put an M33 thread in it.
No.
I mean, at the end of the day, I could just
you can come back out again, if you see what I mean, and make it smaller. Then it would go in one of those M33 tailstock, M33 live centres, effectively.
But not everyone's got them. You're the only snazzy one.
And your plastic thing's going to be more than that, I reckon.
But what they did, they turned a little bit of wood that just fitted over the tailstock. Ooh! Threw it on the floor. And then drilled a hole in the other end for the 3D printed part to then sit in.
Oh, I've got you, right.
If that makes sense. Yeah, it's difficult to explain over camera. I've just loaded up the program to see if I can see what angle I did it at. I think you're right. I think it was 45. It
looks like 45-ish, and I just didn't know if it's quite easy to change the angle. And I just looked at, I couldn't use the ring center because obviously it's chopped off, right? Because it hasn't got the point on it. But I didn't even look closely to see if both of my other two are the same make or whether they're 60, quite a standard like taper. Because if it's then just wondered if it's easier to change it, is it worth changing it to 60 so it's more snug when it goes over it?
And that'll sell the live center as an option.
I was trying to keep the price down.
But if it's an option, so if it was an option, I'd buy it.
45. Yeah, so they are 45, but I can make them 60. That's not a problem. It's quite easy to change it. Barry, all the others, Barry, Steve, and can't remember, John, one of the Johns picked them up as well last week. So I'll see what feedback comes from them. But no, 60 degrees might be better. Problem, I've got some that are 60 degrees. I've got some that are 45. I've got one that's even shallower. It's a very shallow point.
Yeah. So but it's almost like you've got where you're doing the different options for the size for the headstock, right? So your people are going, it's almost you're saying, what size headstock have you got? You need that one. What angle tailstock have you got? You need that one to go with it. So it's almost like you've then got options at both ends. And it's not like you've only got one for the headstock. So you've only
instead of trying to make a universal, actually make 2 or 3 that have got different angles to them.
And say if across, I don't know, whatever it is, 90% of the live centres, it's 60 or 45, then you think, sod it, I'll just bother doing the 2. Most people should be fine.
No, I like that. Yes, thank you for that. So
you said you've been doing sphere cup centres as well.
I've
chucked rather.
So I've got this. I don't know why I'm showing the camera. The audience can't hear the camera. So it works. Poor grammar again. Yeah. So I've produced. They're conical rather than flat topped. So they come down to a point, and they've been tested with a golf ball size sphere.
Oh, yeah, no.
What about, because I've been doing a lot of severe spheres lately, the biggest thing, because I turned my own obviously to do it, but the biggest thing is them marking it when you're holding it and rotating it round, because even though round them all off, and that's fine, because it's such a fine line of getting enough pressure to hold it sturdy enough so you can actually turn it, sand it and all that and polish it, but not too much that every time you move it you've got an indentation on it. Yeah. So how have you catered for that?
There's not a great deal I think you can do. I thought about rubberizing the ends, sort of dipping them in a plasti dip type, almost silicone in them, the very tips of them. But I figured that would just peel off over time, I think.
I've been using that. You can get, Paul Howard sort of had some, what did he... he made some jaws for chucks to turn square boxes, right? And they basically, you made them and put them on your cold jaws. So then you had the square ones. And what he done, he lined the inside to stop them marking the wood. He lined the inside of each square jaw with, I can't even remember what it is. It's some sort of aircraft modelling. It's like a sheet and it's like hard foam, but it's about 2 or 3 mil thick. Might be called modelling foam, I can't remember. And I bought a few sheets of that at the time when I made those. And so I've been using that. So even though I've rounded over my cup chucks, I sort of cut a little disc of that and just sort of rest that in. So I don't stick it on, I just sort of have it over it so that when you're putting the sphere in, it's just got that extra layer of protection. And that's made a massive difference of mine. And then they might gradually thin out where you're crushing them over. You might do 2 or 3 or whatever. Yeah. And then I just cut another little sort of circle out and redo it.
These haven't been the spheres fit the cup chuck inserts haven't been fully tested yet. They've been printed, but they're just waiting on their final testing.
Oh,
I wondered if, because they're plastic, they wouldn't mark, because it's not acrylic, so it's not the hardest of plastics.
Well,
but it does depend on the wood you use as well, I suppose. Because if you're using something like ebony, you're never going to mark it. But if it's something like pine, just look.
Yeah, but I was doing oak, and it was even before I was using that insert type stuff. I was getting marks on that.
Is it burning marks or pressure marks?
No, it's pressure
marks.
And
I get burning marks when I do them, which was a concern for me. Not out of the 3D printed ones, but when I did my my wooden ones.
Oh, where it's actually spinning in it and burning. I don't get that. That's weird.
You should see the inside of the wooden one. It's black.
Oh, really?
Just burnt it. And they were made of pine, so they were a soft wood. And I think I was using beech to make the balls because it was for a magic trick.
Mine actually are out of tulip because I had lumps of tulip that I could do, so it's all in the middle, but just proper rounded over the edges. But with those little inserts of that foam or whatever it is,
I might look at that foam because I don't think that would be. I think it's self-adhesive stuff. I know the stuff,
but you can't stick it on because it just needs to sit in there. You just sort of rest it in there, and even though because you've made the inside of the cone, if you like, almost you're taking it back far enough away so that the edge of the ball's not actually going to hit it. It just needs to lay in it, so it just acts as a sort of cushion, if you like, rather than trying to put it around the ring. I've done this the other day, right? So I got some sported beech, and I sort of had a bit like your vase wheel, to be honest. So where you've got your bits of wood down the side and you've got resin down the middle, I basically had a sort of square chunk of sported beech, and then I whacked that on a bandsaw, done a little wavy line down the middle of it, and then separated it out. And then made a casing around it, poured resin down the middle. So the resin was sort of like that. Now cut it into 3 chunks with the idea of sort of making 3 balls out of it. And this is the first one I've done. It's really good, actually. Pretty rubbish what's inside, but it's like it gives it that sort of different angles rather than it just being a straight line.
Yeah, it's nice.
But with the sported beech now, it come out quite nice. But I'm just the spheres. It's very addictive.
Because you're doing them without a jig, aren't you? You're doing them all with the gouge.
Just by hand. So there's a method where it's you basically just draw the lines on it, right? And it's almost like you can go off at straight angles to a point, and then you just need to go around. But a lot of it is just you might sort of get it almost like an egg if you want to over exaggerate it like that. And then when you're turning it round, you've just got the points. And you're just sort of like, so you're taking longer than you would do if you probably had a jig and whatever, but it still enables you to do them. And then obviously, like sanding is your friend on 80 as a start point, and then you're just feeling it. And ultimately, if they was like, I see some bloke knocking them out of olive wood on Etsy, and he's like one of the parts of the description is making it clear that these are done by hand, so they're not completely round. Thinking, and they look far from completely round. And it's like, mate, it looked like you just hand sanded that off of a lathe. It's like as loose as a sphere I could call it. I think it's an insult to the sphere shape to call that a sphere.
Line that with a suction cup, Mark. I like the suction cups where you're like, like the darts when you were a kid, right? Is the like and then stick them on your head. I'm just thinking like one of those in the end of it would just protect it.
I'll have a play with a couple of bits. I'll have a go with Plasti Dip. I think I've got some Plasti Dip and some silicone and see if it can stay stuck. Because I don't know what sticks to PLA. I know super glue does, but that's not very helpful for what we're talking about. I'll throw a set in Garry's direction for him to test.
Yeah, criminal test, yeah.
Because you're clearly doing more spheres than I am at the moment. But it's just while I had it all set up, it wasn't much of a stretch to go from the tri-wing triangle into the sphere. So,
well, this shows that I've got the sphere bug because I thought I'd make a bud vase the other day, and it's just basically just a sphere with a trumpet. It's like, I think I've been doing too many spheres. Just thought, let's make a round shape. I wonder why I'm thinking about doing round shapes.
So yes, that's what I've been up to. The 3D, but it's not really turning based. It's 3D printing. Hopefully, if they're successful, they'll catch on. It's always going to be a fight against people like Paul Howard, because I know Paul does the tri-wing things for turners as well. If a turner asks for them, he'll make them a set. Here's a machined out of a piece of
HDPE or whatever it is, isn't it?
Resin phobic plastics. But it was purely because John set us that challenge to make them when Steve from SK was with us. I thought, well, won't take much. So the chuck end works fine. It's just that tailstock end.
Because the other thing, anyway, on the tailstock end, can't you, if because the headstock end works well, and that's sort of holding it still, on the other end, you can just take off the actual corner, so you just got the smallest sort of flat surface, and having a ring center and using that on the wood, you can do that. So, is it an absolute necessity to supply the tailstock one?
No, but it does center it better, I found, because I have tried it with just the headstock end, and I'm cheating a little bit, obviously, because I designed it. I produced a tailstock end that fitted perfectly over the top of my tailstock, so it's a real snug sleeve that goes over the top. But because so many tailstocks, they're all completely different. Each manufacturer produces their own, and they've changed over the years. That's no good. But I did found it having one at each end, it just sort of held it better, rather than having the risk of breaking out from a tailstock. But Steve was having a mare of a time.
But no ring in the end. That would take up different sizes. I'd imagine probably what you're looking at, some are inch.
Some are 60 degrees, some are 45.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
someone's probably a 55 as well. But no, I'll take Gary's suggestion on board, and I'll do 2 different angles on the inside, because they don't exactly take a lot of printing. They're only wee. So I'll adapt that, and I'll have to do the same with the spheres ones as well. I'll do that before I send them to you, or next time I see you at club, and I'll bring them up with me. So yours are 60.
Yeah.
60 degrees. Let me write that down, otherwise I'm going to forget. Oh, no. That's 60 degrees, and he goes and writes 40 degrees. Doing well.
That'll be the issue.
Illiteracy coming back to haunt me. I have done some turning, and I've tried to do some resin turning. I poured these. I don't know if the listeners will remember. I poured 3 plates before Christmas, and one of them failed quite epically, but the other 2 survived.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the first one. Probably about 12 inches in diameter. It's a frosted resin with 3 sizes of square offcuts, and they're the bits that you normally hold in the chuck, that you'd normally just throw away or put in the wood pile.
Right.
Can't really see it on the camera, but that had probably half a can of the lacquer we use. And Garry mentioned with his pots earlier that you drill a hole in a lump of wood and use the wood to hold the resin, and rather than trying to make a surround. And that's what I did with these. The wooden base that I've left here did go all the way, and it held it all, rather than trying to make a form up. And that worked really well, all except for that large piece of ebony there. Because of the oils in it, it came out.
Oh, really? Did it?
While I was turning it. I was like, oh, didn't stick to the wood, didn't stick to the resin. So I CA glued that one back. And the other one, it's a bit heavier. It's a little bit bigger.
That's pretty, that.
That's the worms.
It's the worms.
Yeah, caterpillars.
Someone's called it. Pine cones. In I think a lovely shade of green resin.
Nice, sets it off nicely.
And again, half a can of that.
Yeah, you will.
So yes, that was my bank holiday weekend, doing those 2. I'll put them up on the podcast Instagram so people can actually see what we're talking about.
I was going to say that.
And if Garry, you take some photos, and Will, you take some photos of your bits, I'll put them up on the Instagram so people can actually see what we're talking about for a challenge.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Thanks for the feedback on the 3D printed bits, and I'll get them changed, and we'll have some more experimentation time. See where we go with them. And I think that's it for us, isn't it? I think we'll
I think so.
Call it done for the day.
I think so.
My dinner's ready, and I think Gary's eager to get back out in the workshop.
Nice and light still.
Yep. Yeah.
Or are you having another fire tonight?
No, I burnt all that stuff the other day. Do you know what? It was the stuff of the ash. I was still turning it last night, so it's literally nearly 48 hours, and it's still holding heat in there. But it should be pretty much done now. Thank God. But right. Well, good catch up.
And we'll speak to you in a couple. Are we going 2 weeks from this, or are we going to go next week?
Whatever way we do it, we just do the 2 week thing and either do it 2 weeks from now, or if we go next Monday, do 2 weeks from there again. I can't remember. Was this a reset? Was this a one in between? I think we're back on the fortnightly, aren't we? I
think we might have actually fallen back onto the fortnightly. So I'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
On the Monday, obviously.
Will's muted himself. Will's chatting away quite merrily, and he's muted himself.
Sorry about that. Please.
Right. Take care, guys, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
See you later, fellas.
Bye. Bye.